All right, let's go. So today we have a big day. We are going to go over how to clarify our next few months. All right. Now, this is for women docs who are busy and are tired and are overwhelmed, and their cognitive plate, like a Thanksgiving dinner plate, is full of like potatoes and turkey and greens and salad and a lot of potatoes. So the cognitive plate is overflowing. So we're going to go over three ways that women docs can find insight into how to manage cognitive overload, how to set themselves up for success. So we're going to go over four ways to do that. So let's go. All right. So here's some links here. And if you would like these full links, you just reach out to me. I'm glad to send them to you. I run these sessions for women docs in my membership called Fresh Path MD. So you can find them in that membership. Excuse me. There is a free level within the membership that you get access to some of this. And then if you want these kind of sessions, then it's in the paid membership, of course, because you're valuable. All right, so let's go. So, it's okay if you walk in tired. It's okay that after spending some time focusing, we're going to leave more clear, light, and done, right? And just done. We have a system set up. What we do not learn in med school is a professional development system. We just don't learn it. Why not? Because we're professionals for decades, right? We learned how to get through college. We learned how to get through what we need to do to get through medical school. We learned how to get through residency, maybe fellowship. But why don't we learn how to be professionals? How to keep it interesting? How to use our own neuroscience to find joy and purpose and meaning and to help our world, because we need so many people working fully in their gifts to solve a lot of the challenges that we see day to day for our patients and our own colleagues, right? So here we are. So we're going to walk away with your top three priorities for the next 90 days, a clear list of what to say no to. My favorite way, I'm going to teach you my favorite way to say no. I learned it from the Pope. It's the best. A simple weekly focus structure. How can we actually focus throughout our lives? Because a lot of times there's a lot of things coming at you, right? So there's kids' schedules for the summers, there's like vacation schedules covering your call schedule, your OR schedule, depending what kind of doc you are, your ER schedule, your inpatient schedule, all these schedules. And somehow it has to come together. And somehow you have to stay healthy, somehow you have to stay focused, and somehow you have to put what's important to you in your life. Well, I wanted someone to do that for me too when I was a young mom of four kids and trying to figure this out. And I would just once in a while call people like, how do you do it? And they would say, do what? It was like, like, how do you live happily as a woman doc? I wouldn't use those terms necessarily, but I was like, how do you do it with kids and work? And how do you do it? When do you prioritize what? Like, how does it all go? So, having polled a lot of people and looking for my own resources to the point where I got so angry at a meeting and I was like, I have to find out how to put in my life what's important to me. This is it. I got to figure it out. So I read a lot of books and I read business books and I became a business coach and I started my own business and I did things to put myself in new areas. So I'm a newbie at things. And I also read the literature in neuropsychology, economic behaviorism, just what what do people know? What maybe do we not know in healthcare, right? So just put it all together, build a clear, simple framework of professional living, how to live joyfully and meaningfully as a professional. Now, I always have a neuroscience focus because I love neuroscience. Okay, so that's what we're going to do in this session. So we'll do this session in detail within FreshPath MD. So if you're a women doc, please join us. We'd love to have you. It's in the kind of the second level of FreshPath MD. So there is a payment once a month. It's not even like it's nothing that you'd spend in Costco. You probably spend five times that in Costco, but it's just to pay for these kind of things. Okay, so again, what we're going to get out of this, figure out our top three priorities. Next time you join me for one of these sessions, a clear list of what to say no to, say no like the Pope, a weekly focus structure, and a plan that fits your life. Okay, because everybody's life's a little bit different. I've met a lot of docs who they are the sole breadwinner in their family, or they moved to a certain place and then their employer was like, actually, I want you to go to this clinic, X far away. So they just bought a house and now they just, kind of made roots and now they're told they have to like have this huge commute. Or I just met a doc as she's in her first job for the first year of her job. And they're like, sorry, we're taking all the printers. You're going to have to go like way over there, like a 10-minute walk to find a printer if you need one. She was like, well, I'm trying to see patients quickly. Like, I don't understand why I can have one printer close to me. It's not even a big deal, the printer, right? It's just the fact that she feels that they're taking things away from her. She wants to be efficient and effective and caring with her patients, right? Of course we do. So these challenges come up, right? So what's important to you right now? A plan that fits your real life, like how things are actually in healthcare. So sometimes we feel scattered. We say yes to everything. We have unclear directions. We're not sure where we're headed. We're just in kind of survival mode and exhausted. So what we can do with this in this clarity session, this is what I do within Fresh Path MD. So join me. Um, we set clear priorities. Like, what are our priorities for the next 3 months? It doesn't mean your whole life. You don't have to figure everything out, but we set our priorities. We absolutely have a permission slip to say no, because now we know what to say no to because we know our priorities. I set three buckets of goals for a quarter for 3 months. And then, you know, that's it. We say no to everything else. So if it doesn't fit in a bucket, so I like to think of like, take a piece of paper, crumpling it up, throwing it in a bucket, and it's like, oh no, that doesn't fit in there. Like there was a time I was working on my associate professor level. That's what I am right now. So if it didn't fit in there, and wellness in MS was one of my goals, and then just learning, and having fun was in my other goals. So those are my three buckets of goals. So if things didn't go in there, had to say no. It's just not. It doesn't interest me right now. That's the line from the Pope. That doesn't interest me right now because somebody asked him if he wanted to talk with Trump, and he said, that doesn't interest me right now. I love that line. It just lands very well, doesn't it? Okay, so we're going to have a calm, focused, clear plan. So, what are we going to talk about? What are our core values? What matters right now? What are the professional qualities that we want to see? So, that doc where they took her printers away, she's like, what am I supposed to do now? I have to, it's silly, but like every patient she needs to run who wants, because she sees older patients because of her dementia care. Um, and the sun's going behind the clouds, so it's getting dark and light. That's okay. Um, so, just like what are your priorities in clinic? What are your priorities at work? What are your priorities in your life right now? So, what are the core values? We have an exercise for that. We want to know professionally what matters to you right now. And then where are your values in your calendar? So, as we look at your calendar, you know, are things that are important to you in your calendar? So if not, then how do we change that? I was at a session one time and the amazing Amy Sullivan had everyone in the session draw what was important to them. So you have, let's say you start with one piece of paper and you draw a circle. It's like, how important is your family? Are they like a little circle over here? Are they the whole thing? How important is your health? How important is your work? And my family was very big, but then it was like, well, what does your week look like? And I felt like my family was just getting squished at the end of my days. So I did end up, I've always ended up working part-time because I wanted to be there for my family. And that was one of the reasons, like I'm saying my family's important, but my calendar looks like they're getting kind of my leftovers. And I didn't want that. And so we'll we'll look at our calendar, just like let's look at the facts, look at the data. What does the data say? Are we spending time on what matters to us? So I hear a lot of people like, I'm going to get really healthy when I retire. Like, okay, but what about right now? Because we know health matters today, right? Like it matters today what we're doing for our future. Like what we do today predicts our future. That works, financially, that works for our health, that works for our career wise. So a lot of times, some emergency or urgency has to happen to kind of get our attention. And that's just human nature, right? Like we'll let things go until it's bigger, 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 and then we address it. So we want to make sure we're ahead of the game, right? That we're being intentional. The whole point of this is to be intentional. So put intentional in the chat and hit like and subscribe too if you're a women doc and you're looking for some tips and tricks on how to make it and how to make this life meaningful and interesting and fun and intentional. because that's what I was looking for and reaching out to all those docs and calling, like, how do you do it? Like, do what? Like, everything. How do you do everything? Um, so we will look at our calendar and then we'll also look at our professional values. Are they in our days? Have we put them in our lives? What are we seeing at work? Like that doc that told me they're taking away her printers. What are their values there? Obviously, money and efficiency. If they don't want to pay for all those printers, maybe they were renting them or they thought they could deal with less printers. Um, Okay, maybe that's true, right? But what are they saying to their people that work there that now have to walk like 5 or 10 minutes between every patient to go grab something off the printer? I mean, what are they prioritizing? What value are they showing them? So the amazing coach Steve Kerr, who I love this line, he says, bring your values to life. Like with the team, the Golden State Warriors. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, but the Golden State Warriors coach was advised, if you're going to set these values for your team, bring them to life. How does anyone know what your values are? They can't see it in action. So how do you bring your values to life? That's why we're going to look at your calendar and think about what's important to you personally and what's important to you when you're at work, because those can be different things. That's okay. And then also, how do we get to know ourselves in a neuroscience sense so that we figure out how to turn up our creativity? How do we boost our solution thinking throughout a busy workday? Because there's ways we can do that. So that's also what we cover in my one-to-one coaching. I coach women docs and in Fresh Path MD. Because why don't we learn how to work with that amazing organ between our ears today, rather than if something's wrong and then we learn something about it, or there's a crisis at work, or you're thinking about leaving your job and you're not sure how to even have time to think about what you want, but your only answer is leave. And obviously, that's a lot of fight or flight, right? We just want to get out of there. So, which might be fine. That might be what you need. But also, how do you help to see options to get your brain in freedom and flexibility mode, not like panic mode? So think of like a red brain, a stressed brain, a green brain is like relaxed. It's a good thinking brain. It's a creative brain. It's a based brain. So red brain, stressed, green brain, relaxed. Okay, so we want the green brain. We want the creative brain. We want the solution focused brain, right? So how do we do that? We could start right now. Take some deep breaths. Just tell our brainstem that everything's okay. Deep breaths away from your gut, way up. Fill your whole chest, side, back, up with breath. Let it out slowly. You can do that in a busy workday. You can become emotionally aware in a busy workday because our emotions will also turn up or turn down our creativity level, right? So if we're in positive emotion balance, that's when we're more creative, we're more solution oriented. But if you go into a meeting and it's always frustrating and those people in that meeting and you're da da da, it's negative emotions, it's not a lot of creativity happening in that meeting. So we want to make sure we know how to get from red stressed brain to green wide thinking solution brain, creative brain, right? And then we have the three buckets. So that's what we do in Fresh Path is we figure out your three buckets, your goals. What are the three buckets? I had a doc I coached and she wanted to have a rest bucket. That was her goal, is to rest more, to be intentional, to focus. That meant meditating, that meant playing with her kids, that meant kind of putting boundaries between work and home. And that was one of her three top goals. And that was hard. It was hard for her because it's kind of, you're learning new patterns. Change is hard. It takes energy to change. And we had to keep reminding ourselves why. Why does that matter? And then when people would ask her to do things, we'd have to remember how to say no. There's a lot of ways to say no. You can just say no. That's a full sentence. Repeat after me. No. Put it in the comments. No. You don't owe anyone an explanation for all your no's. You could say that. You could say, that doesn't interest me right now. Use the Pope's line, right? No, that doesn't interest me right now. Thank you. You might say, like, I don't have time for that right now. I know somebody who may be very interested in that project. I just did that to a younger staff. I was offered something and I gave it to a younger staff. So because he's still building his CV and everything, and I wasn't interested in that right now. It wasn't one of my three buckets, so it was easy for me to say no to it. Um, and then how do we use goals and setting tactics and have a clear system to save our time? Sometimes people say, I don't have time. I don't have time to set goals. I don't have time for this. Well, we're saying yes to something. Something's taking our time. I mean, a great place to start is just start with your phone. Like, how much time, what's your screen time? You may be listening to podcasts. I love podcasts. I might be on listening to a lot of podcast driving or what have you. So that's some of my time on my screen time. But what else am I doing? Like one time I looked and I texted one day, it was like an hour and a half. And I don't even know, like it wasn't a big day or an interesting day or a special day where I was going back and forth with a certain family member or something. And I was like, whew, what the heck? So then I became aware. So first thing is you have to look at the data, right? And just where's your time going? If anything, you could probably cut an hour, find an hour a day and decrease your screen time. There's ways to gray out your screen. If you want some information on that, put in the comments gray, and I could tell you how to do that, at least on an iPhone. Okay. And why would we take the time to do any or all of these things like we do in Fresh Path MD? Because it saves us time, because we live intentionally, because we wake up and we know what our focus is that day. And it feels great. It feels light. It feels, it gives me a lot of freedom. It gives me a lot of flexibility too, because I'm not saying yes to every single thing. So if you want to know more about this, join us in Fresh Path MD. Would love to have you. We have events, once a month, big events, and then we have little challenges each day with like 2 minute video, not each day. We have challenges each week, like 2 minute videos. So that we're always just building our intention because the other thing that phones have done for us is they have decreased our ability to focus. So we have to build that back up. We have to help our brain be able to focus again. So we have to build it. It's just like a muscle. Focus is a muscle. We have to do that as well. So let's get that green brain, that solution-based brain, that creative brain, and learn more about how to focus and stay intentional in our life because there's a lot going on and we need you living fully in your strengths and gifts. The world needs you, and we need you not distracted, not tired, not flabbergasted, right? We need you focused, intentional, living in your gifts and strengths because you have really unique mix of gifts and strengths that nobody else has. And we need you getting your brain in green zone so that you're creative, you're solution minded, you're helping your communities and yourself, and you feel good and you feel free and you feel light so that you can live fully in your gifts with that green brain, not red stress brain, right? You got this. So go ahead and send me your questions at thebrainfresh@gmail.com. Fresh Path MD is open. Like I said, we have multiple levels. We even have a free level. So if you just want some tips and tricks and you want a community, come on into Fresh Path MD. I'm growing it. It's new. We have, a handful of folks in there. We're just coming together in a kind, fun, compassionate space because we don't need to do this alone. There's no literature that says you have to figure this out alone. Together, we figured this out together with joy and compassion. Okay. If that's not your vibe, that's okay. Maybe go look for another community because this community is strictly for kind, compassionate, growing docs, women docs that are ready to live intentionally. Okay. You got it. All right. Well, send me your questions at thebrainfresh@gmail.com. All right. Well, thanks for your attention, guys, and stay well.